Hi everybody, how you doing? This is Mr. Dowse. In this video, I'm going over more challenging problems dealing with order of operations. I have a previous video I did over beginning level problems. That's dealing with specifically multiplication, division, and addition, subtraction. This video now I'm going to incorporate parentheses. So in essence, I'm skipping over step 2 here, which says simplify any numbers with exponents. There aren't any exponents in here, but I am throwing in parentheses and specifically parentheses. Brackets will be in the expert level problems. So again, I'm going to go over PEMDAS here. So PEMDAS says you do parentheses first, so you simplify any expressions in parentheses, and then you multiply any numbers that have exponents, or you simplify numbers with exponents. And then the third step here, step 3, you multiply or divide problems first from left to right. And then the last step is you deal with addition and subtraction problems at the very end. So if I look at number 5, 5 has, it's a fairly long expression here. And again, an expression is when you have numbers in a combination of mathematical symbols. So I have 4 numbers and 3 mathematical symbols. They're all in one line here. So this is called an expression. So according to PEMDAS, I need to deal with anything that has a parenthesis first. Well, there aren't any parentheses here, so I can ignore step 1. I've already told you there's no exponents, so we can skip step 2. But step 3 says solve expressions involving multiplication and division from left to right. Do I have any kind of multiplying or dividing in here? I do. I've got this division. So technically, I need to solve that first before I can deal with the subtraction and addition, because that's the very last thing we deal with. So according to this, I have 30 minus, well, what's 10 divided by 2? Well, that's 5. Or you could say a negative 10 divided by 2 is a negative 5, either way you want to look at it. And then we have plus 4. So I've taken care of step 3 here. Now I need to evaluate expressions involving addition and subtraction from left to right. So from left to right here, I need to simplify the problem dealing with addition and subtraction. So first of all, I'm going to come across this 30 minus 5, which is 25. And then now the only thing left over is this plus 4, so I get 29. And that should be your final answer here. And if you're not sure and you have a calculator next to you, you can always plug this whole thing into your calculator and see if it gives you the right answer. But I would purely do that just as a way to double check. You need to be able to do this without using a calculator. It's just a lot faster if you do it without a calculator. So I got 29 in the calculator. I got 29 right here as well. So number 6. It's the same numbers, but notice I'm just kind of switching the equation around a little bit with add, subtract, multiply, divide. And in this case, I've added parentheses first. So according to PEMDAS, I need to simplify any expression with parentheses first. So before I even look at anything else, I'm looking specifically for parentheses. And what can I simplify here? Well, I know 30 minus 10. I know this right here becomes 20. So I'm going to write down everything else that I have. So I've dealt with my parentheses here. There's no exponents. We've already talked about that. It says solve expressions involving multiplication and division from left to right. Well, we have division in here, right? So from left to right here, I have this divide by 2. So I need to, from left to right, I need to solve this first. So this 20 divided by 2 becomes a 10 plus 4. So that there's no more addition, multiplication or division going from left to right. So I can kind of eliminate step 3 here. Step 4 says evaluate expressions involving addition or subtraction from left to right. Well, there's only one thing left to do. It's 10 plus 4, and I get 14. And just a way to kind of check my answer, let's plug that whole thing into my calculator exactly as I see it. And I get 14 as well, so I know for sure I did this correctly. So that makes me happy. Step 3. Same numbers, right? I've just kind of changed a couple things around here. But notice now that I've got 2 sets of parentheses. So I'm going to evaluate expressions within the parentheses. It says always solve the innermost parentheses and brackets first. Well, these are both kind of separate from each other. They're not like within inside of each other. So I'm going to simplify this expression first, and I get that 20. And then the divides, and I'm going to simplify that expression next, and I get 6. And so I have 20 divided by 6, and my goodness, what does that become? So I get roughly 3.3 repeated. I didn't intend to get a repeating decimal here, but that is exactly how you would solve this problem. So you take care of the parentheses first, and then there's only, I should have kind of stepped down here and said step 2, exponents. There's no exponents. Step 3, it says simplify involving multiplication and division. Well, that's the only symbol I had here. And so since there was no other add, subtract, multiply, divide going on in here, this is just the last thing that I needed to take care of. And if I plug this into my calculator, just to make sure that it's correct, notice I get the exact same answer here. So 3.3 repeated is the answer. And then lastly, I really think this is important to go over, because a lot of people think when you do multiplication and division that you always do all the multiplication first and then the division. That's not what's going to happen here. So on 8, we can skip step 1 and 2 because there's no parentheses or exponents, but there's specifically a lot of multiplication and division happening in here. So solve expressions involving multiplication and division from left to right. So from left to right here, the first thing I come across is this division symbol. And so 30 divided by 10 becomes 3. Then we have times 2 plus 4. So now that I've simplified the division, the next thing, again, from left to right, I'm going to handle anything that's multiplication or division. Well, 3 times 2 becomes 6. So now that I've taken care of step 3, step 4 says evaluate expressions involving addition and subtraction. So I'm going to add those together. Now, had there been like a subtract here, like a subtract 5, subtract 5, subtract 5, I would have done the addition first and then subtracted 5 at the very end. But that's not what this is asking. So just to double check my answer here, let's do 30 divided by 10 times 2 plus 4, and notice I get 10 as well. So that hopefully helps you understand the more challenging problems a little bit better. Beyond that, have a good day. Bye-bye.